Hello, everyone. Today we are back, and today we are going to be talking about how to improve Intel CPU performance specifically. Now, there are ways that you can improve Ryzen performance, but on Intel, there are a couple of very convenient changes you can make, aside from just simply increasing frequency. Um, because a lot of people don't realize this, but increasing frequency doesn't bring as big of a gain as you would think. So, increasing memory frequency is going to do you much more than actually increasing CPU frequency. For example, like 5 point. Okay, so this is the formula for figuring out the percent difference between like 5.7 and 6.0, right? So you do like 6.0 divided by, or sorry, minus 5.7 equals, and then divided by, I think it would be 6.0 equals times 100. And so you're looking at a 5% difference between 5.7 and 6.0 maximum. This is the maximum percent difference that your CPU could get if you switch frequency from 5.0 to 6.0, and that's assuming that none of that is clock stretching either. So let's, for example, just say you're trying to get that extra 100 megahertz, right? You do 5.8 minus 5.7 equals divided by 5.8 times 100. So you're looking at a 1.72% difference maximum. That is ideal from like 5.7 to 5.8. So any sort of like difference you feel increasing frequency that little just by like 100 megahertz is pretty much all going to be placebo. Like there's not really a big difference, right? Now, if you're talking about like going from like let's say you had a absolutely golden chip, you got like 6.2 gigahertz or something like that on a 14900K, which is like a 0.01% chance of you even being able to really run like one or two cores at that frequency. But regardless, let's just do 6.2 minus, let's do 5.5 because that's like the 13900K base clock, right? Not base clock, but if you look at the boost clock frequency, it'll the top two P cores will boost to 5.8, and all the rest of them will stay at 5.5. So equals 0.7 divided by 6.2 times 100. So you're looking at you're looking at an 11% ideal performance improvement from 5.5 to 6.2, which is still like crazy considering that 6.2 is like so golden that it's it just, when you increase frequency, it just sounds like you're improving performance more than you really actually are. So that is why, even though I know I'm on a 14900K and I'm only running, well, you can't obviously here I'm running 5700 megahertz, which is lower than the advertised frequency. And I'm running that on all cores. I don't have two cores boosting to 6.0 or anything like that. Reason being is because I'm sane. So the difference in voltage that you need to switch from 5.7 to 5.8 is not a little bit. So this is the like maximum, right? That voltage that I have pulled, I guess. Or well, I guess we can go down to this, the actual voltage from the, okay, max is 1.458 and average is 1.309. So 1.458 was probably like a very short spike, right? Which honestly, that's still higher than I would definitely like it to be, and I do need to do some more tweaking, right? Definitely do. But well, also remember, and voltage is a little bit higher right now just because I am recording, right? So I am recording with AOM AV1, so my recording is very strenuous on the CPU primarily. So Yeah, but right around like 1.35, 1.362, I'm very comfortable. And I'm still even like, I'm still pretty comfortable with this regardless. Um, this 1.458 was probably a very, very brief spike because there's not like that's, and considering that out of the box, the 6.0 cores would push like, you know, 5.5 or I mean, sorry, 1.55 to 1.6 volts just to hit that 6.0. Back when they like first came out, it's like 1.45 is extremely tame in comparison to that. Um, so and jumping up to 5.8, I noticed that this would jump to like 1.53 just for 100 megahertz. And so, there's a lot of people that's like, "Oh, I'm not going to run my CPU at like, like less than I paid for this and that." It's like, yeah, but if you want to use this your CPU for any sort of like meaningful amount of time, you might want to um like do something like this, like I know that you feel like you might be crippling your CPU, but you're really not. You're really not. Like maximum is going to be a 1.7% difference, right? And you're never going to notice that. Like realistically, the only thing that you're going to notice is the fact that you feel like you got gypped or whatever. But I'm perfectly happy with this because with my 3900K, the maximum I could really get real like and be sane was like 1 point or sorry, was like 5.6 gigahertz. Like that was the maximum I really wanted to go. So I'm getting 5.7 with the 4900K. So it's like, and as I keep messing with it, I might be able to get 5.8 with better voltages. Or if at some point I end up RMAing this chip and getting a better, maybe a better chip, I'll be able to run 5.8 at lower voltages or maybe even 5.9. But I doubt 5.9. The difference from 5.7 to 6.0 in voltage is ridiculous. Like 6.0 is in no way, shape, or form worth it at all. Yeah. So, anyways, let's get into the tweaks I was talking about. So, if you look up Intel optimizations, all right. So we want to find. Let's see. Okay, we don't want optimization zone. I was literally just. Let's see. Intel CPU optimizations. We will find it. We will. Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is what you are looking for. Okay. So you have all of these different things that you can change, and we'll go into that in just a second. All right, we got the source code. We're going to download that. You go ahead and open the file. If you don't have WinRAR downloaded, definitely download that. Extract. Okay, now we got this. Open that. Boom. And then you want to run this as an administrator. Okay. So here we have all of the, I don't know if okay, well, the text is going to stay the same size, but anyways, so y'all can see it. Hopefully I'm not, okay, well, so you don't want to click apply all optimizations. I don't recommend doing that. The ones that I have applied are disable CPU parking, okay, system performance registry tweaks, and then Intel specific registry settings. And then I do not have disable Windows power throttling because, in my opinion, throttling is kind of there for a reason. And unless you're having like weird issues or something like that, or like really bad multi-threaded performance or something for some reason, then maybe think about disabling or disabling that. But I didn't. You can if you want to, and then I think I did advanced performance optimizations. I'm pretty sure I did. And then the real big one, the one that actually improved performance or the one that is probably going to do the most is CPU security mitigations. So what this does is it disables some of the I guess coding that Intel implemented into their chips for certain CPU security stuff. And the reason why I just went ahead and disabled this is because most of these type of like security vulnerabilities are targeted towards like corporations and stuff. And if you're not going to like crazy sites and like I don't, maybe the dark web, I don't know. As long as you're like a sane individual and you don't go to super back alley type of websites and click on crazy stuff, like are are you really going to come into contact with any sort of CPU security issue? Like, I highly doubt it. Um, so obviously, do this with your own, at your own risk. However, all of the patches and all this and that these companies do on their CPUs, it does hinder performance because they have to pretty much do like a workaround. Where an instruction might have taken, 0.0001 seconds or something like that. Now it takes, just a little bit longer, but that little bit longer does add up to something. So yeah. And that's also why it's listed as an Intel CPU optimization, because disabling the security mitigations does improve performance. It's kind of like when I think Ryzen implemented like some sort of security measure back a while ago, and it like in certain tasks it hindered performance by like 15%. So stuff like that, it's like it's not like zero, and I did legitimately notice a difference in performance. So yeah. Now I don't recommend doing Intel Speed Step and Turbo Boost. I don't really recommend doing Power Plan. I would you don't even really have to do disable CPU parking because that's kind of like a power saving sort of feature. So if you want to save some power, you don't have to do that. But I would do the performance registry tweaks, the Intel specific tweaks, and then if you want to, you can disable power throttling and also advanced performance optimizations, and CPU security mitigation. And I noticed like I wouldn't necessarily say it was a huge difference in performance, but I definitely in like GTA 5, I think I was getting in this one area, right? I tested it. I was getting like 102 FPS or something. After doing all of these, I was getting like 112 or 113 or something like that. So, definitely noticeable. Definitely more noticeable than just straight up increasing frequency. That is for sure. Now, don't quote me on this. Your mileage may vary. Like, you might not every game is going to have as like this huge performance uplift, but at the end of the day, it's like when you can do stuff like this instead of increasing frequency and voltage, it's like why not do that? Because there's no downside except for you might be slightly more at risk for something happening, but normally it's like you're not, normally when it comes to like computer things, it's like people across the world trying to get like grandma's password, right? Like trying to trick them into it's more of like a social game, right? Like a social mind trick sort of thing instead of like actual CPU hacking and like stealing data in that sort of fashion. And now especially that like memory has their the new refresh modes and everything like that, it's like computers are more locked down than ever. So there's not really many ways that people can just straight infiltrate your PC and like get all of this type of data out of it. So yeah, but once again, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you don't have to. But you still should get, a performance improvement from doing, that. And I'm sure disable Windows power throttling does give you more performance. Like I'm sure it does. But for me with the 4900K, my CPU is already running crazy hot. I'm not trying to make it run even hotter. So, and then obviously the registry tweaks, no brainer type of thing. So yeah, that is what I recommend for sure. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to listen to me. Don't get me wrong. You don't. Oh, well, Hopefully I wasn't too loud this whole video, but yeah, I use it on my system. And like I said, as long as you're not going to super sketchy websites, um, even if you are, I'm not gonna lie, you probably still be fine, right? Because it's like, because the CPU tweaks have came out, how many people are actually trying to find that vulnerability at this point because they know it's been patched? So it's like, it's definitely, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it would probably never affect you ever, but there is like maybe a 0.0000, like bunch of zeros and then a 1% chance that you would get affected. So anyways, yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was helpful, and maybe I'll make like an Intel overclocking guide or something like that, or at least what I've done so far, right? Because I'm still relatively new to the Intel platform. So yeah, I'm sure, I can learn, can never run out of things to learn. That's for damn sure. So hopefully this was useful, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.